Can you imagine a rap beef so wild, so personal, that it drags deceased parents into the crossfire? Yeah, you heard that right. While the world thought social media trolling had limits, Boosie Badass just shattered them all, calling out T.I. and King Harris in a way nobody, literally nobody, was prepared for. We're talking about a situation where Instagram Lives become courtroom drama, where diss tracks turn into moral debates, and where one wrong move could make millions of fans question everything they thought they knew about loyalty, respect, and hip-hop etiquette. So, what really happened? How did a simple beef between a billionaire mogul like 50 Cent, a southern rap icon like T.I., and his hot-headed son, King Harris, spiral into a saga where graveyard insults and family legacies became headline news? And why did Boosie decide to jump in slamming everyone involved like he was handing out street justice with a microphone and zero chill? Stick around, because by the end of this video you're going to wonder, is this rap beef, or is it a full-blown family apocalypse unfolding live on your timeline? Buckle up, because things are about to get messy. It all started like any other social media squabble, small enough that most people would scroll past, but the stakes here were far from ordinary. On one side, you had Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, the king of internet trolling, a man whose entire career has been built on making people flinch with a meme, a throwback video, or a carefully timed insult. On the other, there's T.I., the southern rap heavyweight, a man whose reputation for business savvy and lyrical dominance has kept him at the top of the game for decades. And then, like the plot twist nobody saw coming, you had King Harris, the hot-headed 20-something son of T.I., who decided that the rules of engagement were no longer going to apply when his family was dragged into the spotlight. Tiny Harris, T.Y.'s wife and King's mother, found herself in the crosshairs purely because 50 Cent, in classic internet general fashion, decided to post a disrespectful photo of her on Instagram, captioning it in a way that made the entire world pause. The moment that image went live, the reaction was immediate and chaotic. King Harris didn't wait for strategy meetings or calculated responses. He went straight to Instagram Live, eyes burning with fury, voice shaking, and words flying like bullets in a war zone. "Want to say something about my mama? Your mama dead. Go dig her up," he shouted, targeting 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who had tragically passed when 50 was just 8 years old. The weight of that comment was seismic. It wasn't just an insult. It was a full-scale invasion of the deepest, most personal wound in 50 Cent's life. The internet collectively held its breath. Watching a 21-year-old boy from Atlanta step into a battle zone, most seasoned veterans would think twice about entering. The audacity was staggering, the tension palpable, and for a moment it felt like social media itself had been set on fire. But this was more than just online theatrics. King Harris didn't stop at a few live comments. Within 48 hours he had dropped a diss track titled "Made Man," recording it in a parking garage surrounded by foreign cars, the red hoodie and beanie making him look like a young general ready for war. Every bar he spat was calculated to cut deep, referencing family, legacy, and past grievances. Lines like, "Speaking on my mama, I tell Chaz, ring the alarm, probably cross his legs and fold his arms," were not just words. They were challenges, flares in a conflict that was now threatening to spill over from the digital world into reality. To make matters even more incendiary, King dug up an old NSFW photo of 50 Cent holding what appeared to be an adult toy and posted it to his story, adding the hashtag #NoAI to prove authenticity. Social media exploded. People weren't sure if they were witnessing a rap beef, a personal vendetta, or a full-blown scandal. The cultural impact was immediate. Hip-hop forums, comment sections, and podcasts were lighting up in ways that suggested nobody knew what was coming next. And then came Boosie Badass, stepping into the fray with the calm, measured yet brutally honest perspective only he could deliver. Boosie isn't just another commentator chasing views. He's a man who's been through the trenches, who understands street rules, loyalty, and consequences in ways that make most celebrities look like amateurs. When he addressed the situation, he acknowledged King's fury and the justification behind it. "First off, you got to understand where King coming from. That's his mama, man," he said, laying it out plainly. "In the code of hip-hop, family is sacred. Crossing that line transforms a simple internet feud into something far more serious." Boosie made it clear that while he understood the emotional reasoning behind King's attack, he also saw the danger. He warned of real-world consequences, comparing the situation to what had happened with his own son, Tutti Raw, who had learned firsthand that social media bravado could easily escalate into legal trouble or worse. Meanwhile, 50 Cent continued his playbook, posting slick memes, old footage, and trolling responses that turned every reaction into an opportunity. He's spent decades perfecting the art of digital warfare. While most people respond emotionally, 50 uses their reactions against them, flipping insults and reshaping the narrative in ways that often leave his opponents looking foolish. But King Harris was different. He didn't just react. He came with calculated rage, personal insight, and musical weaponry. Even the internet seemed to recognize that this wasn't going to be another standard trolling session. When you bring a deceased parent into the argument, when you dig into family trauma, you enter territory where memes don't work and money and clout suddenly become irrelevant. As the feud escalated, public reactions became just as chaotic as the players themselves. Charlemagne the God weighed in, understanding the moral weight of King's outburst, stating that while 50 Cent's trolling was the spark, King's response was emotionally justified. DJ Academics, on the other hand, scored the conflict in 50 Cent's favor, highlighting the strategic mismatch. The youngest Harris had gone toe-to-toe with a billionaire mogul, a mismatch that seemed absurd on paper but electrifying in execution. Joe Budden gave a balanced view, yet praising King for family loyalty while noting that 50 Cent struggles against a musical counter rather than mere social media drama. Every podcast, comment thread, and barbershop conversation seemed to revolve around one question: how far can a rap beef go before it stops being entertainment and starts becoming personal warfare? Part of the reason the story captivated the world so intensely was its combination of old-school street codes and modern social media chaos. King Harris represented a new generation, one that sees the line between public and private as blurred. He didn't care about memes or legacy. He wanted to defend his mother's honor. Boosie's commentary added depth, framing the feud as more than just a viral spectacle, reminding the audience that real consequences existed outside of likes and streams. Yet even with all the warnings, King pressed forward. Diss tracks were released. Social media posts proliferated. Every move became evidence of a new kind of hip-hop warfare, one that combines music, social media, and family dynamics in ways that older generations might struggle to comprehend. Meanwhile, the backstory between 50 Cent and T.I. added layers of history to this feud. T.I. had been attempting to pull 50 Cent into a Verzu battle for years, using challenges, public appearances, and even birthday call-outs to provoke him. Every attempt was met with 50's typical blend of trolling and character attacks, portraying T.I. as someone avoiding the real issues while 50 dominated the narrative online. But with Tiny Harris's photo and King's explosive response, the stakes moved beyond catalog battles and streaming numbers. Suddenly, it wasn't about proving lyrical supremacy. It was about protecting family legacy, addressing personal trauma, and navigating a digital landscape that thrives on outrage and controversy. And then there's the aspect of strategy versus emotion. King Harris's raw, emotional energy made him a compelling figure, but it also made him vulnerable. A billionaire like 50 Cent doesn't play by the same rules. He has armies of social media experts, a deep understanding of media cycles, and decades of experience turning his opponents into memes. King's moves were brave but risky, exposing him to criticism, ridicule, and potential real-world consequences. Even Boosie admitted that while the moral reasoning was sound, the practical implications were daunting. Social media storms are unpredictable, and when combined with family insults, they can spiral into legal threats, public backlash, or even violence. The result was a perfect storm. King Harris, armed with anger, musical talent, and social media savvy, stood up to one of the most ruthless internet personalities in hip-hop history. 50 Cent, with decades of experience manipulating narratives, was challenged in a way that he hadn't fully anticipated. And Boosie's commentary provided the lens through which fans could understand the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just entertainment, and the line between showmanship and personal attack had been obliterated. Meanwhile, the public devoured every second, debating morality, strategy, and respect in forums, podcasts, and comment sections around the world. By the time the dust had settled on this video of this saga, the story was no longer just a beef between rappers. It had become a cultural moment, a discussion about social media ethics, family loyalty, and the dark consequences of online bravado. And yet, even as we watched the drama unfold, it was clear that things were far from over. Diss tracks were still dropping, Instagram Lives were still being monitored, and every social media notification had the potential to ignite the next phase of this explosive conflict. And that's where the story picks up from here. King Harris had made his move. Boosie had weighed in. 50 Cent was quietly plotting his next digital assault. But what happened next? The fallout, the public reaction, and the cascading consequences would shock even the most seasoned observers of hip-hop drama. Things weren't just messy anymore. They were spiraling toward a climax that nobody online or in the streets would forget anytime soon. And it's exactly at this point where this video begins, peeling back the layers of scandal, leaked information, and an explosive public reaction that would leave the world asking one question: how far can a rap feud go before it becomes something entirely uncontrollable? The storm was only intensifying. What had started as a simple Instagram post had now evolved into a full-blown cultural firestorm, drawing in celebrities, commentators, and social media armies alike. King Harris's diss track Made Man had gone viral within hours, climbing streaming charts and dominating hip-hop Twitter. And fans were replaying his bars over and over, dissecting every line, every dig at 50 Cent, and every homage to his mother, Tiny Harris. The internet became a battlefield, with memes, reaction videos, and live streams sprouting up like mushrooms after a rainstorm. Some were cheering King for his bravery, praising his loyalty to his family, while others questioned the wisdom of challenging a seasoned mogul who had been mastering the art of digital manipulation for over 2 decades. Boosie Badazz, he, now more deeply involved than anyone expected, decided to go on Instagram Live himself, giving a perspective that was equal parts cautionary tale and cultural critique. "Y'all don't understand what's happening here," he said, voice low but intense. "This ain't just bars and memes. When you start talking about people's dead family members, when you bring up someone's mama like that, you're stepping into territory you don't come back from. Real consequences, man. Real life consequences. Our streets don't forget, and the internet don't forgive." He emphasized that King Harris's anger was justified, that defending your mother's legacy is something almost sacred in the culture, but he also warned that moving with that kind of energy against someone like 50 Cent was like stepping into a lion's den wearing raw meat as a necklace. Every word Boosie spoke made it clear. He understood King's fury, but he also understood the danger. Meanwhile, 50 Cent seemed almost eerily calm. But his actions told a different story. True to form, he began methodically removing all TI-related content from his Instagram, a move that on the surface looked like retreat, but in reality was classic Curtis Jackson strategy. By erasing evidence, he controlled the narrative, forcing fans to focus on what he chose to show next. Old photos, throwback videos, and cryptic captions started appearing, each post designed to stir debate and make people question who was winning this escalating war. There were rumors of private messages being sent to certain influencers, encouraging them to fan the flames subtly without openly stepping into the conflict. This wasn't just trolling, it was precision social media warfare, and the more people speculated about 50 Cent's intentions, the more attention the feud received. Public reaction continued to spiral. On hip-hop podcasts, analysts dissected every move, quoting sources that no one could verify but that seemed tantalizingly real. "We've got insiders telling us that 50 Cent is considering dropping an unreleased verse specifically addressing King Harris," said one anonymous host. "He's been in the lab, and sources say it's vicious. We're talking lines that will hit the family, the career, everything." Another commentator claimed to have received a leaked snippet of a potential diss track that included subliminal shots at both Tiny Harris and King, though its authenticity was, of course, unverifiable. But as with any viral scandal, it didn't matter. The rumors themselves were enough to keep the public hooked, with social media users creating entire threads analyzing what might be coming next, predicting bars, and debating who had the moral high ground. King Harris, undeterred, doubled down. He started posting clips of himself in the studio, teasing new material that promised to escalate the conflict even further. One clip showed him in front of a massive wall of speakers, headphones on, rapping directly into the camera with lines that were both a warning and a declaration. Fans were losing it. Every comment section erupted with debate as people tried to gauge whether King was crossing lines or heroically defending his family. His aggression and unapologetic stance created a polarizing effect. Half of the culture called him a legend for loyalty. Half called him reckless for poking a bear who had been dominating the rap internet for decades. Adding to the chaos, Boosie decided to bring his own son, Tutti Raw, into the discussion, creating yet another layer of intensity. Tutti Raw posted messages warning King to stay in your lane and not let social media bravado lead to trouble. The feud had now expanded beyond just 50 Cent, T.E., and King Harris. It had spawned a whole secondary battlefield where the older generation was warning the younger one about the pitfalls of mixing family and public warfare. King, of course, didn't take the warning lightly. He responded on Instagram Live, challenging Tutti Raw's authority, questioning his experience and mocking the notion that anyone could dictate how he defended his family. With every interaction, the feud was multiplying, and the stakes were growing higher as fans watched in disbelief at how quickly personal family matters had turned into a viral spectacle. Social media wasn't the only place the drama was spreading. Imaginary insider reports began circulating, claiming that luxury hotels and private studios had already been reserved for potential face-to-face confrontations. Some sources suggested that 50 Cent's team had rented a warehouse in New York as a rehearsal space for his response tracks, complete with a full entourage of producers, security, and legal advisors. Meanwhile, King Harris was reportedly collaborating with multiple Atlanta-based producers, planning what insiders described as an unprecedented series of diss tracks that could potentially shake the hip-hop world to its core. Whether any of this was true or not didn't matter. The narrative of preparation, escalation, and retaliation kept the audience glued, with fans speculating wildly on what each camp's next move would be. Meanwhile, commentators weighed in on the ethical dimensions of the conflict. Charlemagne the God argued that 50 Cent had initiated the attack by dragging Tiny Harris into a feud that had nothing to do with her, stating, "The moment you bring someone's family into it, the gloves are off. That's why King reacted the way he did. That's why this isn't just music anymore. It's personal, and personal gets messy fast." Others, like Joe Budden, focused on the artistic side, and pointing out that King's use of music as a response was clever and reminded the culture that 50 Cent's trolling only works when opponents engage emotionally on social media instead of responding musically. The analysis created layers of narrative, with audiences splitting into camps, each debating morality, strategy, and loyalty. The stakes of the feud became even more pronounced when rumors about potential legal consequences started surfacing. Anonymous sources claimed that lawyers were being consulted on whether certain statements in diss tracks and Instagram posts could be construed as harassment or defamation. While nothing official had been filed, the mere suggestion that lawsuits could arise added a new dimension of tension. Social media speculators began theorizing about potential criminal charges, fines, and even restraining orders, turning what started as a beef into a high-stakes legal thriller in the eyes of the public. And financial aspects also entered the conversation. According to unverified industry insiders, both camps had been advised to hold back on certain endorsements and partnerships until the conflict had stabilized. Some claimed that 50 Cent's business partners were concerned that the public nature of the feud could affect deals, while King Harris's management allegedly worried that releasing additional diss tracks too quickly could harm streaming revenue or brand opportunities. Again, whether or not these claims were accurate was secondary. The point was that the narrative of high-stakes consequences added drama, keeping viewers hooked and conversation active across multiple platforms. By the end of this stage of the saga, the public reaction was as chaotic as the feud itself. Memes comparing King Harris to historical figures, conspiracy theories about 50 Cent's next move, and heated debates on whether loyalty justified extreme measures flooded Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Hip-hop fans dissected lyrics line by line, while casual observers couldn't believe that a single social media post had sparked a conflict that felt larger than life, almost cinematic in scope. Every story, post, and comment seemed to feed the next, creating a cycle of anticipation and speculation that kept the world talking. And just when it seemed like the storm might be reaching a plateau, another twist appeared on the horizon. Leaked messages from insiders suggested that new diss tracks were already in production. Each one promised to escalate the conflict even further. Rumors spread that alliances were forming behind the scenes, that other artists were being contacted to weigh in or subtly support one side or the other. The feud had grown beyond just a personal family dispute. It had become a cultural phenomenon, a lesson in strategy, social media power, and the raw, emotional stakes of mixing fame, family, and hip-hop pride. As the saga reached its apex, the fallout was inevitable. The conflict had evolved from a social media skirmish into what some insiders described as the most personal and explosive hip-hop beef of the decade. King Harris, emboldened by the viral success of Made Man, continued to release clips teasing follow-up material, each line more aggressive than the last. Fans dissected every lyric, searching for subliminal messages, hidden jabs at 50 Cent, or foreshadowing for a live confrontation. The stakes had escalated beyond reputation. This was now about family honor, legacy, and the public perception of loyalty. Every move, every post, every comment carried weight that could tip the cultural balance, and both sides understood that. Boosie Badazz remained an essential voice in the chaos, providing commentary that blended street wisdom with a dose of harsh reality. On a live stream, watched by tens of thousands, he laid it out bluntly. "Look, King got heart, and I respect that. But he gotta understand who he messing with. Curtis Jackson don't play by normal rules. Social media ain't the same as the streets, but in this case, it might as well be. You keep poking that lion, you might get mauled." Boosie's warning resonated widely because it highlighted the sheer mismatch in experience and resources. King Harris had courage and a platform, but 50 Cent had decades of skill, fortune, and cultural leverage. Yet, despite the caution, King pressed forward, seemingly undeterred by warnings, fully committed to defending his family's honor, proving once again that in this culture, loyalty often outweighs strategy. 50 Cent, ever the tactician, escalated subtly but powerfully. Reports, some verified, some purely speculative, surfaced that he had been quietly collaborating with producers and engineers to craft a multi-layered response. Sources claimed he was working on tracks that would mix nostalgia with sharp, targeted disses aimed not just at King Harris but at Tiny Harris and TY as well. Every release would be calculated to turn public opinion, exploit King's relative inexperience, and use the narrative of wealth, fame, and survival against him. The genius of 50 Cent's approach was in restraint. He didn't react emotionally on social media. Instead, he weaponized patience, precision, and timing. The anticipation alone created a viral effect. As fans speculated endlessly about what he would drop next and whether King could withstand the impact. Meanwhile, the cultural response grew more intense. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and social media accounts were ablaze with debate. Charlemagne the God maintained that the moral high ground belonged to King Harris, emphasizing that defending family is a principle that transcends fame or fortune. Others, including DJ academics and unnamed insiders, argued that 50 Cent had engineered a strategic win simply by drawing King into a trap where emotional response was inevitable. Joe Budden's analysis added nuance, praising the musicality of King's response while warning that real-life repercussions were an ever-present risk. Across the board, every voice contributed to the collective understanding that this wasn't just entertainment. It was a high-stakes cultural phenomenon where the line between performance and reality had blurred completely. In addition to fan reactions and commentary, there were rumors of possible legal consequences. While no lawsuits had been officially filed, entertainment law experts were quoted by unnamed sources suggesting that defamation, harassment, and even threats could become an issue if either party crossed certain boundaries. Even more sensational were claims of private negotiations, alleged cease-and-desist letters, and legal teams preparing for potential escalations. Whether these reports were accurate or simply speculation mattered little. They added tension, suggesting that the feud could spill into real-world consequences with financial, personal, and legal ramifications. The social media aspect continued to dominate. Memes, TikTok videos, and Instagram story reactions multiplied exponentially. Some compared King Harris to historical figures of rebellion, while others dissected 50 Cent's digital strategy like a masterclass in social media warfare. Each fan theory, each viral post, and each reaction video added fuel to the fire, creating an ecosystem where the feud sustained itself without any new public statements. It became a cultural phenomenon not because of any single act, but because the narrative had grown into a complex, self-perpetuating story involving family honor, fame, wealth, and generational dynamics in hip-hop. Boosie Badazz's continued involvement added layers of moral and strategic perspective. He highlighted that while defending family is noble, the rapid escalation of this feud was inherently dangerous. "You can't just throw punches online and expect no consequences," he said during another live stream. I told my son, Tootie Raw, the same thing. Don't let social media teach you lessons that reality will cash in on. King's got heart, but Curtis Jackson is a seasoned predator. He'll use that energy against him if he ain't careful. His commentary struck a chord, serving as both a warning and a lens for understanding the stakes. By framing the feud in terms of family, legacy, and generational wisdom, Boosie turned the drama into something that felt both epic and instructive. Financial and industry implications were also starting to be rumored. Unverified reports suggested that brands and endorsements were evaluating their association with both camps. King Harris's rapid rise in visibility created opportunities, but the volatile nature of the feud presented risks. Similarly, 50 Cent's partners were reportedly cautious, monitoring the situation for potential fallout. While no deals were confirmed, lost, or gained, the narrative of high-stakes financial impact created yet another layer of intrigue. In essence, this feud had grown from a personal family clash into a spectacle affecting not only reputations, but potential revenue streams in the hip-hop ecosystem. By the third week of the conflict, it became apparent that the feud had taken on a life of its own. Diss tracks, social media posts, and commentary feeds kept audiences engaged around the clock. Each new release, whether lyrical or visual, each became a clue, a breadcrumb for fans to interpret. Rumors of live confrontations or collaborative responses circulated widely, though none were confirmed. Every move was analyzed as if it were part of a complex chess match, with observers debating who would falter first and who would maintain composure. The tension was palpable, and the sense of anticipation was nearly unbearable. Then came the most explosive moment yet, an alleged private meeting between intermediaries from both camps. Yet, according to anonymous sources, discussions were held about possible ways to de-escalate the situation without losing face. There were rumors of apologies, potential music collaborations as peace offerings, and even mediation attempts. Whether these meetings ever took place or were simply speculation didn't matter. The rumor alone fueled a new wave of commentary, sparking debate about whether the feud would finally resolve or spiral even further out of control. Throughout it all, and the underlying message was clear, when family is involved, when mothers and legacies are brought into the fight, the game changes entirely. No meme, no viral post, no diss track is trivial. Emotions become magnified, stakes become higher, and the potential for lasting consequences becomes real. King Harris may have started the public war, but by defending his mother's honor, he had also stepped into a realm where calculated strategy, musical skill, social influence, and even legal foresight were required to survive. 50 Cent, with decades of experience and a history of thriving in this environment, remained the ultimate wild card, a predator who could turn every reaction into an advantage. As Part 3 draws to a close, it's evident that this isn't just a hip-hop story. It's a study in digital warfare, family loyalty, cultural influence, and the explosive power of social media. The narrative has evolved beyond a single Instagram post into a saga with musical and legal, financial, and emotional stakes. Boosie Badazz, King Harris, T.I., Tiny Harris, and 50 Cent are all players in a drama that has captivated millions, forced cultural debates, and redefined what a rap feud can be. By the time the dust settles, or perhaps even before, it will be remembered as one of the most chaotic, personal, and unforgettable chapters in modern hip-hop history. The world is watching, the reactions are multiplying, and the tension remains high. As everyone waits to see how this extraordinary saga will ultimately conclude. So now the question everyone's asking is, what happens next? Will King Harris keep writing for his mama's legacy, or will 50 Cent flip the script and reclaim control of this chaotic saga? Is this the beginning of a musical war that could redefine hip-hop feuds forever, or just another viral moment that burns out in a week? And let's not forget T.I. and Tiny. Are they just bystanders? Or are they quietly plotting their next moves behind the scenes? The truth is, nobody knows, and that's exactly why the world is glued to every post, every story, every leaked snippet. One wrong step, one new diss, one viral clip, and the entire game could flip overnight. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Who do you think is really winning this high-stakes family and fame battle? Is King Harris a hero for defending his mother? Or is he playing with fire against a billionaire mogul who's mastered this game for decades? And what about 50 Cent, genius strategist or cold-hearted provocateur? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you want more of this raw, uncensored breakdown, and make sure you subscribe because this saga is far from over. And trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The streets are watching, the fans are reacting, and the world is waiting. What side are you on?